From Murder to Messages. It's a book that challenges everything we think we know about death, grief, and what's possible after loss. We're here to introduce one remarkable lady and friend who lived it. Jackie's story will change the way you see what's possible behind the veil. I am so honored to be here with these three mama bears. I am Tammy, and these are my dear friends, Renee and Jackie. We're connected by love, by purpose, and by the unthinkable. Jackie's son, Devin, he died by murder. Renee's son, Ryan, transitioned on the side of a mountain, and my sweet Allie, she transitioned by suicide. We call ourselves Shining Light Parents because we believe our children, Devin, Ryan, and Allie, are with us, guiding us from the other side. We met through Helping Parents Heal. It's a nonprofit organization about 2 years ago, and we're spread across Michigan, North Carolina, and Oregon. We're connected by loss, by love, and by something bigger than grief, purpose. We're not professional YouTubers, and this video is going to be far from perfect, but Jackie's story deserves to be told exactly as it is, raw, real, and full of hope.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renee. I'm honored to be here with Tammy and Jackie today. Jackie's journey, what she survived, what she's discovered, and what her son Devin has shown from the other side is powerful. It's proof that love never dies. This isn't a typical interview. This is a story that begins with heartbreak and rises into something no one could have ever imagined. Jackie went from generational trauma and alcoholism to becoming a Reiki master, a quantum healer, and a channel for her son's messages. Her new book, From Murder to Messages, is a raw, unforgettable journey that shows one truth. Our children are not gone. They are still with us here in spirit. And today, Jackie is here to share that transformation with all of us.
Yeah, so let's all take a breath, open our hearts, and stay with us. This conversation might just change the way you see love, loss, and what lies beyond. Welcome, Jackie.
Wow, thank you guys so much. And thank you for being my dear friends. We are definitely connected through more than just loss. We're connected through love and through support of each other. The intro that you gave me, it just makes me want to tear up and cry because it's so powerful. And I just appreciate, I'm so great. I have so much gratitude for you two and your time and the love that you've just outpoured for me and for Devin and for our story. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Well, it's been a great friendship, and we have seen each other transform and grow and evolve during our healing journeys, right?
For
So,
sure.
Jackie, take us back before December 2022. Who were you? What was your personality like before that phone call that you received before that phone call changed your life?
Well, that's a loaded question. um, I do my best to sum it up. I definitely come from a family with a lot of trauma, a lot of sexual abuse, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of addiction in the family, poverty. Um, I was um, I was a very young mother. I was pregnant at 15. And I just continued down like to sort of like continue the same cycles, teen pregnancy, not really getting an education, poverty. And I had four children. And I struggled in my choice of men. That I really had some pretty bad choices of men, relationships, toxicity, again, sexual violence, abuse, that came up during those marriages and those times for me. And I learned to cope with drugs and alcohol. And I would say, a big personality. There were times in my life where there parts of my story as an alcoholic that I really don't regret. I mean, I was the life of the party. I would say I was like really a big woman. I was a really obese, like 400 pounds, but I mean, people were just drawn to me like magnets, like if there was anything fun going on, it was because I was like there giving everybody like the time of their lives. So, that was also, kind of part of my story, but with that comes destruction. I call myself the queen of DUIs. I like, I like to party a little too much and, would get into trouble. So my children in their lives, they had a very tumultuous, I would say, childhood. They suffered through some of, a toxic marriage, domestic violence, and open-ended on both sides, I would say. So this was like a difficult lifestyle for them. Um, and they were always surrounded by just like tons and tons of people. There were breaks in that. There were times where I was extremely devout and I would take all the kids to church, 6 days a week. It was like kind of like from one extreme to another. And yeah, I think that's a little bit about me. My alcoholism absolutely got the best of me. And I ended up in rehab, and then I ended up in a relapse that resulted in a house fire that resulted in my death, happened to be resuscitated. And that's sort of where the story got good, because I started to sober up and I started to do a lot of inner work, and I started to really, really work on, I would say, my relationship with my children, and building that back up and being the mama that they always did deserve and didn't get.
Thank you for sharing this. Very resilient. And we know a little bit about your book. So, without giving away too much of the book, take us to December 16th, 2022. What happened?
Well, that's a day that's just etched in my memory and my vocabulary. And it just, like, I don't think that the date December 16th, 2022 will ever feel anything other than tragic, devastation and hopelessness. When you think of that date, my son was in a custody dispute with his ex-wife over my 7-year-old grandson, and it got out of control. It got ugly and violent, and he went to go pick her up. Or he went to her house to pick up my grandson. He'd actually been asking to go pick him up at the police station, but she wouldn't cooperate. And he was so fearful of her allegations and reactions to him that he installed a dash cam on the car, so that when he would go to the home to pick up my grandson, that he could record it to make sure that he kept himself safe, and he kept, just that way he was above reproach. No one, she couldn't say he was doing things or, being ugly to her. So, on this particular day, he went by himself, and he, um, rang the doorbell to pick up my grandson, and she opened the door, and no word spoken, open fired on him. And he was, shot in the heart. It was like the district attorney said, it was a kill shot. And it doesn't matter after that how what happened, like he would have never been able to survive. But she repeatedly shot him. Um, and ended up repeatedly she shot him 9 times. On camera, the door of her home, with my 7-year-old grandson in the home.
Oh, that's hard. It's hard to imagine. Your story carries so much courage and vulnerability. So what made you decide to finally write your book, From Murder to Messages?
Well, there were times early on in my grief and in dealing with all the aftermath of what it's like to lose a child, and then to lose a child violently with court cases. And it was very interesting. I would be someplace and my mind was so very cloudy. Like the grief is so, it's like a fog, it's so heavy. And I would hear something that I think that if Devin were here, he would have said. I could hear it in his tone. I could hear it in his little smarty pants, quirky voice that he had. And I started to just write it down. And it was interesting. If I were to walk across the floor and stub my toe, I could hear "ha ha ma," because that's what he would have done. He would pick on me quite often, and it would just. I was compelled to sit down and write it. So I would, like, if I heard him say "ha ha mom," I would stop what I was doing, and I wasn't together enough or, clear minded enough to actually, be journaling. So I would just grab whatever was close to me and I would write that down. And I would say, if Devin were here, he would say, ha ha, ma. And it just became a habit of doing that. And that developed into actual journaling. Um, so I was getting in a habit of writing things that I thought that Devin would say if he were still alive. And then I began to use journaling as a coping technique. And I just began to I thought I was hearing my own mind say what what he would say. And it turned out to be much different than that. Like it turned out to be literally like being able to hear him right here telling me funny stuff, telling me normal stuff, guiding me. And I just got in the habit of writing it down. And I would say around a year into my journey, and my journey came with so much more than just his death. It came with custody battle of my grandson, which I lost, and I have no contact with my little grandson, came with legal fees that was enough to surmount enough to bankruptcy. There was just so much darkness. And I would go to bed at night sometimes and I would just see this book and this book cover. And I would just see Devin, his hand writing like, right. So I would say I don't think I had a choice in writing the book. I think it was something I had to do for my healing, and it was a way to give Devin a voice after his was taken, and it's a way to help other people going through grief and hopefully bringing them some hope.
So your book, we're talking Murder to Messages, takes a reader through so much emotion, grief and confusion, survival, awakening. So what is the hope you have for people who that are experiencing your book? What is a hope, that you want them to feel when they're reading it and or maybe the final message or
It was a delicate balance, I have to say, because I didn't want readers to just feel heartbreak and heaviness and think of Devin's life as a tragedy, or think of my life as a tragedy. So I tried to be, I wanted to be truthful. I wanted my realness in my story and what I went through, what my family suffered, what Devin went through, what he suffered. I wanted it to be available to the reader, but I didn't want it to overwhelm them because the book is from murder to messages, so there's a bridge there, there's a story there. And unfortunately, we have to start out with the reality of what we were all living, of what actually, happened to Devin. So I did try to be careful not to overwhelm the reader with grief and heaviness and heartbreak, but it was a little unavoidable at first. But I want to reassure anybody listening to this that it does come with hope. It does come with light. It does come with beautiful love. I mean, just amazing messages from heaven. And I want to make sure that anybody who has experienced a loss, grief or sobriety issues, addiction, that they can see there is hope.
Mhm.
There is inspiration, there is a way through it, and there is a way out of it. So that's what I wanted the readers to be able to get out of the book.
Beautiful.
And your journey after losing Devin wasn't a straight line. As you shared, you had a lot of dark moments and heavy struggles. Tell us what helped you hold on to the light? Like, what were the things that where you felt anything is possible? What gave you hope?
Well, I really feel like there's two moving pieces to that story, and those reasons. One, the biggest piece I think happened about 8 months and I do talk about this in the book quite a bit, about 8 months after Devin passed, still in court battles, fighting, still unable to have contact with my grandson, still dealing with, you know, criminal court and trial. It's coming up, and, just all this awful, horrible things that lead up to a court custody case and a criminal case all at one time, and the loss of income, the loss of, finances, all of that it felt like it was swallowing me up. But I went on a cruise. I went on a cruise with Suzanne Giesman, who is an interesting story. When she's a medium, but she wasn't always a medium, and I was so skeptical and have like a really weird program in me about mediumship or psychic abilities or any of that. It's like, people with tinfoil hats and they're cuckoo and they're crazy or they're stealing your money, they're shysters, like that's sort of like my background on how I felt about it before Devin passed. And I had a little key piece in there about religion too, like that was also a huge block for me feeling comfortable with, you know, believing that there's life after death or that Devin could actually give me messages or speak with me or through somebody else. So, but I went on this cruise knowing nothing about her story. And it's so interesting because I'm so glad that that's the person that I found to listen to because her background is a military background. She's what was she? She was an aide to the captain of the chairman of the president of the United States. She's married to a Navy captain destroyer. This is not a shyster. This is not a person with a tinfoil hat. So
She had
I'm
credibility. Yeah.
yes, that piece changed everything for me. And I'm not going to go into too much about it. And the book does talk about it, but that is where I met other helping parents heal parents. And that is where I met a mama that ended up being my roommate on the cruise. And she gave me Reiki.
Mm.
And after 8 months of being in the dark and 8 months of just not even being able to, I don't like, you can't catch your breath. You can't even gulp enough air to feel like you're living, and for 30 minutes, an hour, I had reprieve. I had a breath for the first time in 8 months. I had, peace. I had just a release of this pain. And that's when I was like, okay, I really have to learn to do this. And I really want to do this for other moms. Like that was the driving force for me of how I felt about Reiki. And that energy healing was a huge piece of how I got through things and also a huge part of my story of why there is light after darkness.
Incredible. Um, so, your experiences with signs from Devin, you shared a little bit about that. But in the book, those are some of the most powerful moments. How do your, how does your belief in the afterlife like shape your healing?
Well, I think when I speak to you as like an alcoholic, as somebody who did like has so much guilt and pain in the way that her children were raised, and knowing that you lost a child and that you can never make those mistakes up, there's a finality to that, you guys, that is it's deafening. Like the sound of that is so loud that I was this kind of a mother, I was this kind of a parent, and now it's over. Like he'll so the signs that I received from Devin and the knowledge that he is right here, that he sees my sobriety, that he sees my journey, and that he's proud of me, he loves me. I mean, that is a piece of my healing that I can't ever be more grateful for. It goes beyond just like that relief that yes, when your child dies, like you need to know that they're still there somewhere, that they still exist. But for me, that piece of the healing, because Devin and I we did have a tumultuous somewhat relationship. Devin was very rigid and he was a no nonsense kind of kid. And he didn't like, he had some serious boundaries. And so if I'm drinking or being dramatic or dying in a fire, he's like, want nothing to do with it. Like, and so I always had maybe more guilt about Devin because he wasn't as forgiving. He wasn't as um able to be flexible as the other kids were when they saw me starting to get sober. They saw me trying, for years they saw me trying to stay sober and trying to move, through life in a different way. So Devin was a little bit more rigid about it. And so that was a tremendous amount of pain. So now that I can get his, get his messages and get his, pride in me, and that he knows that I'm sober and that he knows that I'm trying. And Devin knows now from the other side everything I've ever done in my life, and he still loves me so much, and he still wants to be with me so much, and he still wants to provide guidance for me so much. But that's a piece that, I mean, I just, I wouldn't be where I am at today. I wouldn't be able to forgive myself, and I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have that from Devin.
You almost feel closer a little bit. I mean, not physically, obviously, but
Yes, I do say that I feel closer to Devin, that our relationship has continued, that it has evolved, and that he knows what I do in my day-to-day life, that he is here like helping us, get this book written and getting on the radio and getting on the YouTube because, he wants people to hear our story. So he's involved in my day-to-day life more than when we would talk on the phone a lot because we were states away from each other sometimes, but um and it comes with such an unconditional love now,
mm,
um and he's been able to know my story, like he knows who I was as a kid, what my family's like, and now he can accept things that he wasn't able to accept when he was here.
beautiful.
You. Was there a specific turning point? I think you mentioned a couple of different turning points in your book, but a feeling that you had, a moment when everything kind of started shifting for you in your healing journey.
Yeah, I would say that it was early on in the beginning when he started to give signs. And I've documented some of the signs in the book. I feel like they're really powerful. They come with photographs, and so that early on, about 2 to 3 months after he passed, I did have physical interaction with my grandson at that time. And um it was enough to catch my attention to take a photo to think that maybe it was a sign. So that's in the book. I'd love for you guys to take a look at that when you get a chance, because it was 2 or 3 months into it when I think it was like I asked for a sign without believing I was going to get a sign, and not even sure why I was asking for a sign. I thought I was a lunatic, and I received a sign big enough to be able to take a photograph of it, and 3 years later put it in a book.
And you have a lot of those in your book, right? I
I
mean,
do,
yeah.
yes. And
Hmm.
I've had to limit it. I mean, they're like, you just can't. I could have put 100 more signs in the book. I had to really limit it. So that was unfortunate. Otherwise, it would be 500 pages of, these signs.
Got to keep something for the second book.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so your family now, you do have other children, right? You said, how are they doing and how are you all navigating this together?
So this is a piece of the story that means so much to me. When Devin passed, my daughter, who I had at a really early age, she was like my best friend, and she was like the sweetest part of my life. And just like, I don't even know how to explain her, but she got a lot of responsibility shoved onto her, being the oldest with an alcoholic drug addict mom and three younger siblings. So I know that was difficult for her to navigate. And at some point, she just couldn't. She just left the family. She like didn't want to talk to me anymore. And, because she didn't want contact with me anymore, she really extended that to all of her brothers. And when Devin passed, she came back into our family, and her and I's relationship is amazing now. I'm sure we still have some heavy things to work through, but I mean, we're in contact daily. We spend, the summer together. She helps me with some of the more logistical stuff of writing a book and having a website. So um, my other two children and I, my boys and I, we're closer than ever. They're closer than ever. They have a relationship with their sister again. And I stay sober, and I try to be more like the matriarch of our house now.
Uh,
Just someone that they can go to no matter what. And we just have grown as a family unit. I mean, a lot. And my youngest son, he was also, struggling with some addiction issues when Devin passed. And Devin passing also brought him out of that.
Mm,
He also wants to stay sober for his brother. And so that's been a blessing, a huge gift.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
those are wonderful gifts to reconnect with family members. And now it sounds like you're tighter than you ever were before. So that's good. That's great
Thank you,
news.
Devin.
Yep.
Yes.
So, Jackie, a lot of people who are listening right now, are hurting as well, whether from loss, trauma, addiction, or just the weight of life. So, what would you say to someone who is in the place you once were?
Well, when it comes to sobriety, or if it comes to losing a child, a loved one, finances, whatever it is that they might be going through, I want to say this, that the biggest gift you can give yourself is connection. You cannot isolate. You cannot do it all by yourself. And our connection, us mamas, my connection with people who also struggle with sobriety, surrounding myself with people who understand what I'm going through, who encourage me, who love me, who will help me through it. That is the biggest advice I could give anybody who's in my position is surround yourself with people who love you. Allow people, human beings want to connect. We want to help each other. We want to be of service. We want to be there for someone else. Allow those people to come into your space and into your heart and into your life and help hold you up. There were times in this, and there's still times where I just can't stand up. It's so hard, it's so heavy, that I just can't do it by myself. And somebody will come in and they will hold me and they will lift me up. And I think that that's my biggest advice to someone who is struggling, whether it's from loss, alcoholism, drug addiction, financial problems, gambling, anything. Like you just need to have connection.
Yeah. So true. When someone finishes the murder to messages, what do you hope stays with them long after they close that last page?
I hope what stays with them is that there is no death, that consciousness survives death, and that they never make a big enough mistake in life that they can't be loved.
Mm.
That, there's nothing but love after we leave this realm, after we exit this life.
So, Jackie, in addition to writing the book, I understand you have a Facebook group in quantum healing and you offer Reiki sessions. Are you currently offering online sessions? If people are interested, how would they reach you?
Yes. So, thanks to my beautiful daughter, I have a website, JackieSuzanne.com. And I have a Facebook, Light After Darkness. And apparently, we have a little Instagram page for the progress of the book launch, which is coming up December 16th. So, we are on track to get a launch going for the book. And there's, social media, plenty of ways to reach me. And I definitely know going into the holiday season, I offer like free group healings on my Facebook page. I offer always sliding fee scales for other mamas, parents going through the loss of a child. That's really the blessing I receive from that. I really want to pay forward.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that. So you said your book launches on December 16th of 2025, just coming up. 3 years to the day after Devin's transition. Why did you choose that date?
I chose that date because I didn't want to get lost in grief. Anybody who suffered trauma or an inner, your nervous system just gets
Yeah.
ready for it. And leading up to those times and those dates, your body just remembers. Whether I think it'll 15 years from now, my body will start to remember what happened December, 16th, 2022. And it starts to get ready. It starts to brace itself. It starts to, try to was hold itself, so because it knows that this is going to come back to it, that this is going to be a memory, whether it's conscious or just in your body. And I wanted to make sure that I had something else going at that time to try to negate that, and I just didn't want to fall back into despair. I know, I also have Devin's birthday is December 2nd. So I have, what would have been, another year of him being alive on this earth that is really difficult sometimes to navigate. And then I have, the day that he left this earth coming up within just a few weeks of each other. So I decided this year to try to honor him with the book, try to make sure that his messages are out there and that other people are feeling hopeful because of what I have to share. To and I thought that I did have some trepidation about it because there are a lot of people in Devin's life who loved him very much, who don't maybe understand the idea that I'm receiving messages from him, that his consciousness still exists. And so I worried about what that would look like to them, to have me on camera smiling, launching a book on the day that he left the earth. So it did come with some trepidation, but I think in the end that this is definitely what Devin would want. He's shown me over and over again, he doesn't want me stuck in my grief. He doesn't want me in the pits of despair, you know. So that's why I did it.
Yeah, and for so many of us parents, thank you for sharing. It's yeah, these birthdays, angel anniversaries, those they're hard days. Our body feels everything with our within ourselves. So thank you. Thank you for your courage, your voice, and your heart. Your
Mhm.
journey is a reminder that even in the darkest places, hope rises, love continues, and our children guide us forward. And those are so many things that we've also learned through helping parents heal. So I would encourage anybody who's on this journey to visit their website as well.
Mhm.
To everyone watching or listening, if you've ever wondered whether your loved one is still with you, if you've ever searched for purpose in your pain, if you're ready to believe in healing again, then Murder Two Messages is a book that you need to experience. Jackie's story will stay with you in your heart, in your hope, and in the moments you feel your loved one near. For Murder Two Messages by Jackie Suzanne, December 16th on Amazon. I encourage anyone who has a loved one in spirit to buy it. Let it inspire you, have an open mind. And, my one of my favorite questions, what if? What if? Love never dies. So that is a fact. Love never dies. Thank you for listening and thank you for sharing. And Jackie, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to share with us?
I think that I I just want to share that, the messages that I get from Devin, the things that he writes about with me, it is that there is only love.
Mhm.
There is only love. And he wants me, like, if I'm sitting in traffic and I'm frustrated and irritated, he's like, Mom, it's no big deal. Like, it's really lighten up. There's only love out there. And, getting frustrated with little things, he really encourages me to understand, like, how much it's just all love. So I guess that's what I'd like to leave the audience with.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for, like Renee said, your courage and for sharing your story and inspiring us all.
Thank you, ladies, for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate you.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. And we'll put the links in the notes below for YouTube so everybody can access your website and your social media information as well. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
everybody
much.
for listening, being with
Thank
us.
you.